For months, one question has hovered over the Kansas City Chiefs. Would Patrick Mahomes be ready after suffering a devastating ACL injury? Now Andy Reid has finally broken his silence with a major update ahead of training camp, and it's changing expectations for the entire season. Let me break it down. The Chiefs opened training camp in St. Joseph, Missouri, and the first question every reporter in that room wanted answered had nothing to do with rookies or depth chart. It was about a left knee. Andy Reid stood outside Scanlon Hall and said Pat's doing great with his injury, that right now he's got clearance to practice and do all the different periods that they have in camp. Then they'll just take it day by day and see how he does. That's the headline. No caveat, no limited participation, no gradual ramp-up plan buried in coach speak. Reid told reporters that Mahomes has been cleared to participate fully and can now do all the different periods that they have in this camp. For a quarterback who spent the back half of last season on a training table instead of a football field, that's about as clean a green light as you're going to get in late July. Here's why the timing matters so much. Mahomes tore his ACL 222 days before this clearance on DAC 14 against the Chargers. Do the math on that. 7+ months from a blown-out knee to a full go at training camp isn't just fast. It's ahead of schedule by most standards. A standard recovery timeline for a torn ACL runs about 9 months, a schedule that would have pointed toward a mid-September return, potentially missing the first few weeks of the 2026 season. Reid's announcement blows past that conservative window entirely. Mahomes himself didn't downplay it. Standing next to his coach, he described the moment as just the next box to check, telling reporters he'd been tracking specific checkpoints all along and that this was just another checkpoint on the schedule. That's Mahomes in a nutshell, treating a torn ACL recovery like a to-do list instead of a crisis. But it's worth pausing on how we got to this exact point, because the injury itself still shapes everything about how careful the Chiefs are being. Mahomes saw his 2025 season come to a crushing end after suffering a torn ACL and LCL in his left knee during a Week 15 loss to the Los Angeles Chargers, rolling out to extend a play before being rolled up on by a defender and immediately grabbing his knee. The image of him being helped off the field at Arrowhead is the one every Chiefs fan has replayed for 7 months. He was tackled from behind by Chargers defensive end Deshaun Hand, immediately reaching for his left knee as Kansas City's medical staff tended to him. What happened next is part of why this recovery has moved as fast as it has. The team didn't wait around. Patrick Mahomes successfully underwent surgery in Dallas this evening with Dr. Dan Cooper to repair the tear in his left ACL, the team said in a statement, adding that Mahomes will begin his rehab process immediately. Turning a surgery like that around within roughly 24 hours of the injury isn't standard. Turning around a procedure of that magnitude within 24 hours of the injury is rare in itself, indicative of how anxious Mahomes was for his comeback clock to start. Every week of delay before surgery is a week added to recovery. Mahomes wasn't interested in losing a single one of them, and the surgeon matters here too. The surgery was performed by Dr. Dan Cooper, the Dallas Cowboys head team physician. Cooper isn't some random name. He's one of the sport's go-to knee specialists, and he's a Dallas-based orthopedic surgeon who specializes in knee and shoulder injuries for the Carrell Clinic in Texas. Getting access to that level of specialist within a day of injury is part of why Kansas City has been able to move the timeline up, instead of just hoping for the best. So when Reid stood in front of cameras in St. Joseph and said the words "full go," it wasn't an isolated announcement. It was the payoff of 7 months of decisions that all pointed toward exactly this moment. And it set off a wave of reaction across the building, the fan base, and the rest of the AFC, all trying to figure out what a fully cleared Mahomes means for a Chiefs team that spent all of 2025 finding out what life looks like without him. To understand why this update landed the way it did, you have to sit with what Kansas City looked like once Mahomes went down. This wasn't a team cruising through a bad stretch. This was a franchise's entire operating model collapsing in real time. Kansas City finished 6-11 in 2025, third in the AFC West, missing the playoffs for the first time since 2014 and for the first time in Mahomes' career. Read that again, not since 2014. Before Mahomes was even a starter in the league, his career had become synonymous with January football, and 2025 broke that streak in the ugliest way possible, with the guy who built it watching from the sideline in a brace. The Chiefs endured a difficult 2025 campaign, finishing 6-11 and third in the AFC West, marking their first losing record since 2012, and the first time they missed the postseason since 2014. 2 separate droughts, both snapped in the same disastrous year. That's not bad luck. That's a team that had built its identity so completely around one quarterback that his knee buckling against the Chargers effectively buckled the whole season with it. And it wasn't like Mahomes was struggling before the injury hit. Before going down, Mahomes had once again carried the Kansas City Chiefs offense, finishing the year with 3,984 passing yards, 31 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions, keeping Kansas City competitive. Despite inconsistency across the roster, and his absence exposed those gaps, as the Chiefs failed to sustain offensive rhythm down the stretch. Take him off the field, and the cracks that were papered over all season suddenly had nothing covering them. The eliminator itself was almost cinematic in how it played out. Mahomes was injured with less than 2 minutes remaining in a 16-13 loss to the Chargers, a result that ended the Chiefs' playoff hopes. One drive, one knee, a season and a streak, gone in the same sequence. Behind center after that, it was Gardner Minshew trying to hold the fort. Gardner Minshew took over under center for the Chiefs in Week 16 against the Titans. No shade to Minshew, he's made a career out of being a capable fill-in. But capable fill-in and 3-time Super Bowl champion at peak form are not the same tier of quarterback, and Kansas City's record over the final stretch showed exactly that gap. There's an eerie footnote to that Chargers game too, one that made the whole week feel like a gut punch across the league rather than just a Chiefs problem. The star quarterback suffered the ACL late in an eventual loss to the Los Angeles Chargers, the same day the Chiefs were eliminated from playoff contention. And Green Bay Packers star Micah Parsons also tore his ACL. Two of the league's biggest names, same day, same injury. It became a story about knees across the whole NFL, not just in Kansas City. Reid himself was in the middle of it from the first minute. Before the full diagnosis even came back, he was already working the phones. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid said earlier that Mahomes was seeking a second opinion in the Dallas area. That's a coach who understood immediately how much was riding on getting the diagnosis and treatment plan exactly right, not just for one player, but for the direction of the entire franchise. By the time the dust settled on that 6-11 finish, the story of the Chiefs' 2025 season had essentially become the story of one ligament. Everything that followed, the rehab updates, the OTA sightings, the training camp clearance, was Kansas City trying to claw its way back from that single moment against the Chargers. Surgery is the easy part to talk about. The rehab is the part that actually decides whether a quarterback comes back the same player, a diminished one, or not at all. And Mahomes' climb back has been documented in stages, each one a small data point the whole league has been tracking. The early signs were modest, almost mundane by design. 3 months after the surgery, the update wasn't about scrambling or throwing deep, it was just movement. Patrick Mahomes sparked hope and optimism for Kansas City Chiefs fans on Wednesday, when he was seen throwing the football 3 months after tearing his ACL. A guy throwing a ball in a t-shirt shouldn't be newsworthy. For a franchise that had just watched its quarterback go down in December, it was treated like a turning point. Around that same stretch, Mahomes gave his first real look into how the process actually felt from the inside. And it wasn't dramatic. It was checklists and trainers and stubborn optimism. He described hitting all the checkpoints the doctor wanted, building strength and mobility, with the help of Chiefs athletic trainer Julie Freimier, and admitted rehab's going great so far, just hitting all the checkpoints that the doctor wants you to do and getting the strength and range of mobility back, crediting Freimier for pushing him while noting the doctor gives goals he always wants to exceed. Even then, in that early press conference, he was already staking a claim on Week 1, while being careful not to promise anything he couldn't control. He said the long-term goal was to be ready for Week 1, that the doctor said he could be, but couldn't predict what would happen throughout the process, although that remained the goal, and he'd prepare himself to play with no restrictions. That combination, ambition paired with restraint, became the theme of every update that followed. There's also a detail from the night of the injury itself that says a lot about how competitive Mahomes is, and how badly he didn't want to come off that field in the first place. Mahomes said after suffering the injury, he initially asked the Chiefs' medical staff if he could put a brace on the knee and finish the game, a request the staff denied. That's not a guy who was mentally ready to shut it down. That instinct to keep pushing rather than sit carried through the entire rehab process. He didn't do it alone either. Part of what shaped his approach was leaning on people who'd already walked this exact road. During his extensive rehab, he consulted Tom Brady, Tyrann Mathieu, and notably Zach Ertz, whose similar injury provided competitive motivation. Ertz's name matters here specifically. a fellow competitor who'd gone through his own knee rebuild, and could speak from experience rather than theory. By spring, the updates shifted from throwing in a t-shirt to actual team reps. Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes was hoping to be ready for Week 1 against the Denver Broncos while recovering from a torn ACL and LCL. He wasn't just doing conditioning work on the side. He was folded back into organized team activities, working through drills alongside teammates for the first time since the injury. Mahomes was a full participant at Chiefs OTAs in May in both individuals and 7-on-7s, donning a yellow non-contact jersey. The yellow jersey was the tell, full reps, but still protected, still a step below live contact. Even at that stage, he was already framing his own recovery against outside expectations, pushing back gently on anyone who thought he'd need the full 9 months. In May, he described himself as being in a good spot now compared to where some people thought. That's Mahomes needling the doubters months before camp even opened, filing away every low expectation as motivation. Then came the moment that made this update inevitable rather than a surprise. Just days before Reid's press conference, a well-sourced report signaled exactly where things were headed. Patrick Mahomes was expected to be fully cleared that week, per Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer. When the actual announcement came, it wasn't a shock to anyone paying close attention. It was the confirmation of a trajectory that had been building since a t-shirt throwing session back in March. Mahomes even described learning about his own clearance almost matter-of-factly, like checking a test result he was fairly confident about already. Mahomes said he learned he'd be fully cleared 2 days before Reid's announcement. 7 months of rehab, and the news arrived almost quietly, tucked into a Wednesday phone call before it became a Friday press conference. Here's where the story stops being about the past 7 months and starts being about the next 7 weeks. Because fully cleared doesn't mean unrestricted forever. It means the medical side of this is done. The football side is just getting started, and that's where the caution creeps back in. Reid's own language on Friday made clear, this isn't a blank check. He was careful to frame it as clearance with conditions attached, saying Mahomes would do everything in camp and do all the different periods we have in this camp, and then we'll just take it day by day and see how he does. Day by day is coach speak for we're still watching this closely. That caution showed up almost immediately in outside reporting too. Even with the green light announced, national media was already flagging that Kansas City wouldn't just cut Mahomes loose into unlimited reps. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reported on SportsCenter that the Chiefs will be cautious with Mahomes' activity in camp, but the signal caller is looking to return to a normal practice setting and potentially suit up in the preseason. Full participation in camp drills is one thing. Live preseason snaps against another team's pass rush is a different level of risk entirely, and that's the next checkpoint everyone's watching for. There's also a physical detail that tells you the Chiefs aren't pretending this injury didn't happen. Mahomes isn't walking back onto that practice field as if last December never occurred. Mahomes, who will wear a knee brace, expressed comfort in running the offense. The brace is permanent armor for now, a visible reminder every single snap of exactly what's being protected. Reid's exact words carried the same split tone, confidence layered over caution. He didn't just say Mahomes was cleared. He laid out precisely what that clearance covers. He's been cleared to go ahead and participate full. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid said, full participation, yes, but paired everywhere with the day-by-day qualifier. That's become the Chiefs' unofficial motto for this entire recovery. Mahomes' own comments in that same press conference window struck a similar note. Grateful for the checkpoint, but refusing to call this finished business. He acknowledged there's still real work ahead before he considers himself fully back, telling reporters that although he still has work to do before the regular season begins, he stressed that receiving medical clearance is another important checkpoint, but he still has to prove himself on the practice field. That's a quarterback managing his own hype in real time, refusing to let one good headline turn into complacency. Standing next to Reid, Mahomes described the moment less as a finish line and more as the start of a new phase of the same climb. It's training a lot of hard work, Mahomes said. It was always the goal to be able to practice when we got to training camp. And so we've kind of hit that next step, and now it's just about building and keep getting better and better so that whenever the regular season comes around, I can try to be available and ready to play. Notice the phrasing, try to be available. Even at full clearance, he's not promising week 1 outright. He's promising the effort to get there, and that week 1 target isn't abstract anymore. It's got an opponent and a stage attached to it. Reporting out of Denver made clear just how directly this camp clearance connects to the season opener. The news everyone anticipated finally became a reality on Friday, when the Kansas City Chiefs gave quarterback Patrick Mahomes the full green light to start training camp on Sunday, meaning he will almost certainly face the Denver Broncos in the Week 1 season opener on Monday Night Football at Arrowhead Stadium. That's the whole equation resolving itself in one sentence: camp clearance now. Primetime opener in 6 weeks, division rival on the other sideline. Reporters covering the Broncos side picked up on exactly the same signal, treating it less like a hope and more like a near certainty. Patrick Mahomes has been cleared to participate in training camp. DNVR's Zach Stevens wrote on his official X account, adding 100% expect him to play against the Broncos Week 1 on Monday Night Football. Even Kansas City's rivals are now planning around a healthy Mahomes rather than hoping for a hobbled one. It didn't stop with local beat writers either. National League insiders confirmed the same update through their own channels within minutes of Reid's press conference wrapping. Chiefs HC Andy Reid told reporters that QB Patrick Mahomes, coming off a torn ACL, has been cleared to practice. ESPN's Adam Schefter wrote on his official X account, when Schefter and a Denver-based reporter are converging on the exact same read within the same news cycle, that's about as confirmed as an NFL injury update gets before the pads actually start cracking. So what does full clearance actually mean practically? It means the surgically repaired knee has cleared every medical checkpoint the Chiefs set for it. It means Mahomes can run every drill, take every rep type, operate the offense the way he did before December. What it doesn't mean yet is that he's been hit by a 260-pound edge rusher at full speed, or that he's absorbed a full training camp workload across back-to-back-to-back days. That test is still coming, and it's the one that will actually answer whether cleared and ready are the same thing this time around. What happens next isn't really up to press conferences anymore. It's up to a knee, a brace, and however many practice reps Kansas City decides to dole out over the coming weeks. And the people who understand that best aren't reporters. They're the doctors who deal with this exact injury every single day, far from any stadium. Their read on all of this is consistent, and it's worth hearing in plain terms rather than filtered through a highlight reel. One sports medicine physician who spoke about the injury stressed that the surgery is really only half the equation, warning that skipping steps to rush back carries real risk. Rehab is just as important as the surgery itself, the physician said. Rushing the process increases the risk of re-injury. Patience and proper guidance are key, adding that Mahomes' return is expected sometime during the 2026 season, though healing timelines can't be rushed even for elite athletes. That's not a criticism of how Kansas City has handled things. If anything, the day-by-day language from Reid lines up with exactly that kind of caution. But it's a reminder that no press conference can override biology. The same expert made a point that applies just as much to Mahomes as to anyone rehabbing a knee. In a small-town physical therapy office, the calendar doesn't actually care how badly you want to play. While optimism remains high, medical experts caution that biological healing dictates the timeline, not the schedule. Every ahead-of-schedule headline about Mahomes has to be read against that backdrop. Feeling good in shorts and a non-contact jersey is one thing. Trusting the knee under a full-speed collapsing pocket is the actual finish line. Kansas City hasn't been shy about hedging its bets while all of this plays out either. Roster moves this offseason tell their own version of the story. A front office that believed in the recovery but wasn't about to bet the whole season on a single ligament holding up on schedule. The Chiefs traded for Justin Fields this month to add depth at the quarterback position. That's not a vote of no confidence in Mahomes, it's just what a team with a franchise quarterback coming off major knee surgery is supposed to do. Build a real answer in case day by day turns into something slower. There's a parallel storyline running just up the road in Denver that puts all of this in sharper focus too. The Broncos are dealing with their own quarterback question heading into that same Week 1 matchup, and it's a useful reminder that recovery timelines rarely move in a straight line for anyone. The Broncos are also dealing with their own injury issues, with third-year quarterback Bo Nix coming off a fractured ankle, suffered in an overtime win over the Buffalo Bills in the AFC divisional round. Originally projected to keep him out 4 to 6 weeks, Nix now seems like he'll be back in action for the first time at training camp, but needed a follow-up procedure that kept him sidelined for the entire offseason. Two AFC West rivals, 2 Week 1 injury clocks running in parallel, both landing on the same Monday night stage. And Kansas City's own history from this same season adds one more layer of context nobody's forgotten. The division race isn't waiting around for anyone's rehab schedule. The Broncos went 14-3 in 2025 and broke Kansas City's streak of 9 consecutive AFC West division titles. 9 straight division titles, snapped in the exact year Mahomes went down. That's the throne Denver is currently sitting on, and it's the throne Kansas City is quietly building its entire 2026 plan around reclaiming, starting with a fully cleared quarterback walking back onto a practice field in St. Joseph. None of what's ahead is guaranteed. Camp reps, preseason snaps, the first live hit of the regular season. Every stage still carries its own version of the test that got skipped back in December, when Mahomes asked to stay in the game and got told no. But for the first time since that Sunday against the Chargers, the story isn't about what Mahomes can't do. It's about how much he's cleared to do, one practice period at a time. With a division title and a Monday night opener against Denver waiting on the other side of a summer that finally has him back on the field. Chiefs coach Andy Reid gives Patrick Mahomes injury update before training camp. Yahoo Sports. New Patrick Mahomes injury update revealed by Andy Reid ahead of Chiefs training camp, Bleacher Report. Mahomes, Reid share update on injury recovery ahead of training camp. Fox 4 KC. Chiefs coach Andy Reid gives Patrick Mahomes injury update before training camp. Heavy.com. Chiefs star Patrick Mahomes is officially cleared for training camp practice. Forbes. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes cleared to participate fully at training camp. KWCH. Chiefs coach Andy Reid breaks silence on Patrick Mahomes' health. Yardbarker. Patrick Mahomes undergoes surgery to repair ACL day after injury. USA Today. AOL. Patrick Mahomes injury update. CBS Sports. Patrick Mahomes announces update on Wednesday. AOL. Latest update on Patrick Mahomes' ACL injury amid Chiefs OTAs. Yahoo Sports. NFL news. Patrick Mahomes throwing football again 3 months after ACL tear. Fox News. Patrick Mahomes' ACL injury explained by a sports medicine specialist. Waterbury Hospital. Broncos get critical Week 1 injury update for Chiefs QB. Patrick Mahomes Heavy.com. Patrick Mahomes shockingly set to be fully cleared 7 months after tearing ACL. Yahoo Sports. Patrick Mahomes issues warning to the NFL after major injury update. Heavy.com. Mahomes has surgery for torn ACL. LCL also repaired. Per source, ESPN. Chiefs Patrick Mahomes tears ACL and lost to Chargers.